Good evening. Welcome to the February 23rd, 2026 City Council regular meeting. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mayor Mayhew. Deputy City Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Murphy.
Here.
Councilmember Watson.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway. Councilmember Washington.
Here.
Councilmember Cotton.
Here.
Councilmember Christensen.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway has requested an excused absence from tonight's meeting. Is there a motion excusing Councilmember Holloway?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those that approve say aye.
Aye.
Those approved say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Councilmember Holloway's absence is excused. Please stand me and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Washington, will you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those that approve say aye.
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 Those that oppose say nay. Motion passes unanimously. The agenda is approved. At this time, we will provide time for public comment on items not on the agenda. Comments on agenda items will be taken during discussion of each one of those items. Are there any members of the public that would like to make public comment tonight? All right, hearing none, public comment is now closed. Moving to the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains approval of the City Council meeting minutes dated February 9th, 2026, approval of the claims report dated February 23rd, 2026, and Agenda Bill 26003, a resolution of the City of Snoqualmie, Washington, authorizing the mayor to sign a Fourth Amendment to the agreement with Madrona Law Group, PLLC. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Is there any public comment on items on the consent agenda? Council, is there any discussion? Not all those in favor of approving say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The consent agenda is passed unanimously. Next item is ordinances. Under ordinances, we have Agenda Bill 26004, which pertains to Ordinance 1315, adding Chapter 10.13 automated traffic safety cameras to the Snoqualmie Municipal Code. This is the first reading of Ordinance 1315. Councilmember Watton, would you please read the introduction only?
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew and council members. The city of Snoqualmie has seen an increase in speeds in school zones. The city proposes adding a code section permitting the use of automated traffic safety cameras to provide additional resources for the safety of our youth and community.
Next, we'll have a presentation on this. Then we'll take public comment and have council discussion. If any, during the presentation, please hold your comments and questions till after the public comment section.
Nicole, stop share.
So tonight's presentation will be by Chief Haracy.
Trying to share.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Mayhew, members of the community. I'm Interim Police Chief Gary Parisi, and I'm here this evening to speak to you about school zone traffic safety cameras and the ordinance before you tonight. In March of 2024, my first public safety meeting with the city, community members addressed council members in that meeting about speed concerns in the school zones, particularly around Mount Si High School on Park Street and Meadowbrook Way, and then Snoqualmie, or Timber Ridge Elementary at Snoqualmie Parkway. To address those concerns, the police department increased its focus on speed enforcement in those school zone areas, increasing the number of infractions issued and warnings issued. The police department also deployed the mobile speed trailer as an education and deterrent tool. That device, as you know, most of you have gone through it, have seen that it displays your vehicle speed as you approach it. Public Works also trimmed trees, moved signage just to improve the visibility of those signs, and installed temporary rumble strips around the high school area as a mitigation factor. Our enforcement activity throughout 2025 is up on your screen, and I'm going to focus on the intersections first, particularly Snoqualmie Parkway and Swenson, where we issued 56 infractions and there were 4 motor vehicle collisions in that intersection. At Meadowbrook Way and Southeast Park Street, we issued 9 infractions and there were 2 motor vehicle accidents in that intersection. As we look at the streets as a whole, on Meadowbrook Way Southeast, we issued 47 infractions. There were 17 motor vehicle collisions, and we conducted 150 total traffic stops total. Snoqualmie Parkway, we issued 238 infractions. There were 38 motor vehicle collisions with 723 traffic stops conducted. I added Mill Pond in here because we've seen an increase in that over the last year. And in 2025, there were 6 infractions issued, 7 motor vehicle collisions, and 22 traffic stops. In January of 2026, Sergeant Weiss was conducting speed enforcement on Mill Pond and stopped a motor vehicle on its way to school, going 82 and a 40. Despite our increased efforts, we're still seeing significant levels of concern. To quantify and to assess the situation in our school zones, I reached out to Issaquah Police Department, who uses a automated traffic safety camera program. They use Vera Mobility, and I contacted them. They offered a free 3-day speed study, which was conducted in September of 2025. We selected the 4 locations where the speed study was conducted, and it's on your screen as a summary of those results. On the far right of the screen, you'll see the schools with the school zone times next to that, the total potential violations, and keep in mind that the speed study ran 24 hours a day over a 3-day period, and then the total potential total school zone or infractions during school zone enforcement times. I want to highlight that the Mount Si High School has a speed or a time frame of 0700, so 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Timber Ridge Elementary has 2 set times, one from 8:45 a.m. to 9:45 a.m. and then 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So on the Parkway by Timber Ridge, there's only 2-hour time frame where the school zones are enforced. During that time frame, at the high school, or for instance on Meadowbrook Way, from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., the speed limit is 20 miles an hour during the school zone, and we had a potential of just over 1,600 violations during the 3-day time frame. And this was on the northbound lane in the 9,000 block. Each slide you'll see has a number of violations, and they're highlighted there in orange, and these are all for the high school area. We conducted the speed study on Meadowbrook Way in 2 different areas, well, technically 3. One in the 8,000 block, one in the 9,000 block, and then we also conducted it near the center, near the tennis courts. And this is showing you Park Street in both directions. And then again, this is the centerpiece of Meadowbrook. So we saw approximately 918 violations in the center of Meadowbrook, right near the entrance to the high school. Timber Ridge Elementary is Snoqualmie Parkway in the northbound lane between 8:45 a.m. and 9:45 a.m. and then 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. in each day, we saw a potential of almost 1,600 violations. As we look through the southbound lanes, you'll see a little bit less, but the numbers are still staggering for a 2-hour time frame of each day. This again is a summary of those results, and I'll wrap up on the summary with, if you look to the far right, you'll see the total traffic flow during the 3-day period with the numbers, for instance, around Mount Si High School being up to 6,600 vehicles going down Meadowbrook Way. So we've talked about the problem, and the speed study shows that we have what I would consider a significant concern. Now I want to talk about potential solutions. Washington state law permits the use of traffic safety cameras, and many jurisdictions have implemented those systems, such as Issaquah, Redmond, and Lake Forest Park. There are various types of camera systems. Some capture limited information only when an infraction is committed, and others continuously transmit data used to detect criminal activity. These systems are equipped with automated license plate readers, or ALPRs, and are connected to the criminal justice database system and are checking information in real time for statuses such as stolen vehicles, driver's license statuses, and outstanding warrants. Cameras without ALPRs are not connected to the criminal justice database system and only take photographs and a short video when a violation is detected. When considering the safety of our community and the concerns for privacy, the police department has only considered non-ALPR systems. They do not continuously record or transmit information. They do not take images of the drivers or passengers in the vehicles. I lost one. And these systems allow us to address the concerns of our community and provide the ability to customize our speed enforcement parameters and allow the police department to manage the workload of our officers. Photographs and videos are uploaded and encrypted and transmitted to servers approximately an hour after they are taken. They are not designed to continuously monitor traffic. And a benefit to this program, in addition to the safety of our youth, is that the cameras are present when officers cannot be. If you decide to proceed with an automated traffic safety camera program, implementation would include increased signage, a warning period, enforcement on the most serious offenders. The department can comfortably manage this program without negatively affecting our current workload. And all of this would lead to education, reduction, and enforcement to help create a safer Snoqualmie. So with that, I can take any questions you may have.
Actually, first we'll take public comment, and
Okay.
then we'll come back to questions. So is there any public comment on this item? So please come to the microphone, state your name and your place of residence, and you've got 3 minutes.
Mayor, City Council members, thank you. My name is Peter Cares. I'm from the Bridgestone community. I'm a longtime resident, 2 decades. I retired from a career in law enforcement, and now I am a school bus driver for the past 2 school seasons. So I have an interesting perspective to provide you. Particularly, I've been servicing the Timber Ridge, Mount Si High School, and Snoqualmie Elementary School as well. So I've been in these areas. The study shows you a 3-day snapshot. Some pretty serious offenders, but if you remember, after the pandemic, people were let loose, so to speak. And the parkway is challenging, and it was a different parkway in 2025. Now we have the diversion diamond. Thank you for everybody that did that. It's amazing. But coming down that parkway in a school bus is difficult to maintain 20 miles per hour. The bus doesn't want to go 20 miles per hour. Neither does most of your vehicles that you drive. I'm in second gear. That's what maintains 20 miles per hour going through the school zone. Going up, the bus is struggling, right? Even to maintain 20, the bus is struggling. Okay, so I can tell you from going through all these school zones for the past 2 years, people try. They really do. I see more people trying than the people weaving through and cutting through everybody, especially when school is coming to session and letting out, especially Timber Ridge. It's a traffic jam. Everybody knows that on Swenson. People avoid the area when school is coming in and letting out. And so that controls your speed, the traffic jam, the narrow of the ability to get into that school and out. Snoqualmie Elementary, we saw a great picture of the signage up there with the radar sign. Very effective. I can tell you it's very effective. There are people coming from the golf course and they're cutting through the school zone. They see that sign, they slow down. Especially, when a route is canceled and there's a backup, that inherently slows everybody down. So is there really a need for these cameras for an outside corporation to get profits from our city? Because that's what's happening. That's what we're thinking about. I understand that the chief is easier on his enforcement, but from the 2 years that I've spent in these school zones, I've only seen officers present a handful of times. I've seen maybe 2 vehicles pulled over. I know the stats showed something different, but I'm giving you a real-time perspective of the person that's there every single day. And with that, I would strongly recommend that you revisit and reject these cameras. Maybe start looking at traffic engineers and seeing what they could do. These lights, these areas are tight intersections. By extending the red lights and slowing down the traffic, you may have achieved the same objective with those 2-hour periods through the school zones. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, council, any discussion? And the chief is here if you have any questions of him. Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is that this is the company that did the monitoring is also kind of looking for there to be a problem. So I do have a little bit of a concern of us choosing a company that's selling these things to do our monitoring. It's like, oh, wow, they found a problem that they could profit off of. So I am curious about, in terms of if we do go this route, in terms of going for a contract, is that company one of the ones that does the non-licensed plate reading version, whatever that's called,
Non-ALPR.
non-ALP, yeah. Are they one of those, or do they do the license plate reading and then just has the administration, police, et cetera, and the committee looked into yet a contract with anyone in particular? Is that just something that would be coming in the future?
So this company does provide non-ALPR
Mhm.
systems. There are several others that do as well. And we will be looking, once we get through this piece of this puzzle, we will be bringing a contract or different options to you to look at as a council as a whole. There's a process behind that, but that is the plan, is to bring at least 3 options to you to consider.
And
Yep.
follow up real quick.
If I could just add to that, we have not, to answer your first part of your question, we have not asked any company for a contract at this point. And this is a discussion of the ordinance.
Right.
We've separated that from approaching you about hiring a company to then enforce your ordinance if you pass this. And our intent is that we would absolutely bring you multiple vendors. It is our intent that we would not bring any ALPR type providers. And, but we would bring you multiple companies to look at for then hiring to implement this. But sorry, Councilman Johnson, you had a follow-up
And
question?
then just to follow up with that, then entail us going with the lowest responsive bidders at one of those kinds of situations where essentially, like, whichever one's the lowest bid we more or less have to go with, or is there some other discretion involved?
There's other discretion involved. You will not have to go with the lowest bidder.
Okay, thank you.
City attorney, anything to add?
No,
You don't have to, just.
no, this is not a lowest, this is not like an RFP where
Right.
we're gonna, or a public works bid where we have to go with the lowest responsive bidder.
Thank you.
Councilmember Watton.
Thank you. I do want to bring before the council that it was citizens that came to the Public Safety Committee meeting, as Chief Horace pointed out. That happened in March of 24. 24, yes. Trying to remember the timeline. And it's been something that the city has been addressing through Public Works. As the chief mentioned, Public Works has trimmed back vegetation around the signs, but it was also that, they did spend time out doing speed enforcement, and that was the numbers from 25 that you see there. 1 out of 3 actually ended up with a moving citation. So 2 out of 3, and the numbers were quite staggering, didn't receive anything other than just verbal warning. And it continues to be a problem for the residents. We hear a lot of feedback, positive feedback, on the fact that things are calming in the Park Street area, that neighborhood. But I think that doing this study then in September kind of highlights how big of a problem it is. It's 24 hours for 3 days. And most of the violations would have occurred during school hours, so 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. If we go back, very few outliers in there. So, there's cause for concern, and we're just trying to figure out how to go forward. We've also looked at other video systems in the past and have stayed away from things like Flock because of concerns in other communities that are nationwide that were well known in advance. And so now we're looking at a system where that information is to be held here at the city and reviewed by our officers before the tickets are issued. So this is the first step. We have to change the ordinance to allow for us to have this. I think it's a good move to make sure that we continue to be one of the safest cities in the state, but speed matters, and this is a better use of our resources if we can multiply our officers by having these cameras. But we're going to be very diligent in moving forward to make sure that we have the right systems in place, and everybody on this council will have, transparency in seeing what we're looking at, but this is merely the first step. So thank you.
Councilmember Cotton.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, could you go into a little more detail on 2 things? One is the non-automated license plate reader, what they do with their information as far as how it's transmitted, where it's stored and such. And then the second part, you had on the slide the kind of the break-even point. In other words, we're not going to be charged per se if there's that certain break-even point of how many citations are issued per day, I think is what it was, or something along that line. So can you touch a bit more on that?
So yes, and to your first question, an ALPR is one that an automated license plate reader is something that's continually uploading information, and then it is sent to servers and is accessible 24 hours a day. It's always doing something. It's recording a video as vehicles travel by. The systems we're looking at only take the photos and a 12-second video, and that's our focus, is something that does something similar to that, or those that specific operation. And then it's uploaded onto an onboard computer. It's encrypted, and then it's sent to a server with the entity where the data is owned by the city. For if we get a public records request, it comes to the city. To answer your other question, where there's a monthly fee to each camera. And when we talk about the break-even point, those are, we have to have a certain number of citations issued to make sure that we're ensuring that our costs are covered. Based on the speed study, there are the number of violations that we see, the potential violations will cover the cost so that there is no out-of-pocket expense for the city to cover the monthly fees and things like that. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
If I could just add, I just, a couple things as I kind of went through my review before this came to council that I want to share with you. One is the thing to remember about our officers, using our officers to enforce these speed zones, is they get called away for other calls. So they do enforcement during those speed zone times whenever they're able. And you saw the kind of numbers. The chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but each traffic stop takes about a half an hour of our officers' time. Is that right?
Varies from 15 to 20 minutes depending on the stop. It
Okay.
can go a little longer.
So 15 to 20 minutes per stop. So you can imagine there's only so many stops that our officers can do. So it limits how much directly they can do in terms of enforcement. And then, of course, if they're called away, they have to go to that call and then they're not able to enforce. And so that kind of creates a limit on how much enforcement can happen using officers. The other thing is, Chief, could you just clarify, though, the numbers that were done in the traffic study, those numbers that we saw, are those in violations exceeding the 20-mile-an-hour limit or the limit that you set of, say, 27 or whatever limit you set?
I will go to, I'll use the Parkway as an example. So the speed limit in a school zone is posted at 20 miles an hour. We set the parameter at 27 miles an hour. So the potential number of violations that you're seeing here are any vehicles going over 27 miles an hour. And for instance, on this particular location, the northbound side of the Parkway, there was one vehicle that exceeded 67 miles an hour. If we look at the next slide, this is the southbound direction during the school zone hours. So during that 2-hour window, either in the morning or in the afternoon, 20 miles an hour, we set the parameters at 27, and there were 6 vehicles that were doing over 67 miles an hour during school zone times.
So also, I just want to reiterate what the chief said regarding how these non-ALPR systems work. So they have a video camera, they have a still camera, and they have a detector that detects the speed that's going. So nothing happens until the speed detector detects a violation above whatever level the police department has set it at. So using the 27-mile-an-hour example, that has to be exceeded before anything happens. The thing that then happens is 2 photos are taken of the rear of the vehicle. This is designed to make sure that we can see the license plate of the car, not the front. We don't take a picture of the driver. And then the 12-second video is also triggered. So the 2 photos and the 12-second video happen once a violation is triggered. That then gets captured, then the encryption process. And the important thing to understand, I think, is that it actually takes about an hour for that to happen, get encrypted, and then get transmitted. So even if someone was trying to use the cameras in some sort of real-time endeavor, they're going to be an hour behind before they could even get this data. And then as far as the break-even point, I just wanted to make a point. The thing I was concerned about is that we not inadvertently create a cost to the city that we weren't identifying to you now. So if this was going to be a net cost, we wanted to say, this is what this will cost us. Our objective is to stop the speeding or significantly reduce the speeding. That's our objective. So the thing about the break-even point is we said with just that number of violations per day, which given the speed study, we'd expect many more violations than that to be captured. If we just issue 10 per day, we've covered the cost. So just that break-even point was just saying that that's how, and we knew we could do that easily with the existing police force that we have. So the point there was not to say that's only the infractions that we would issue. It's saying that we're confident that this would not be a net out-of-pocket cost to the city with our existing resources and wouldn't cause us to, doing this alone, need to have more officers. So that was sort of the point of that break-even analysis, is just to kind of make sure that we thought about those kind of costs and how this could play out from a cost perspective. But again, the point was, how can we make sure, without driving up a lot of costs, how can we try to make a significant impact on the speeding and get the school zones a lot safer than they are? Councilmember Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy that this has been brought to us. I was on public safety at the time when we had so many residents coming in with concerns about speeding, especially in the school zones. Seeing the actual numbers that are associated with this is really deeply concerning. I will make no point in hiding, like, I have a 5-year-old child at Timber Ridge and I have a 10-year-old child at SES, Snoqualmie Elementary School. And I do see people speeding, especially during drop off and pickup. I follow them, I see them, on the back of my bumper, that I will go a little bit faster too. But I mean, these are little kids going around, right? And these are also our teenagers who are learning to drive and that are developing what will hopefully be better habits in the future going forward if we can remind them, as they're coming and going, that they do need to drive safely. Some of the traffic on the parkway also are going to be members of our community and some are going to be passing through, but I do think that this is a really good opportunity to amplify the work that our police officers can do, and it gives them another tool to be able to go forward and keep our kids safe. Because the numbers here are deeply disturbing, both the total number and then just how fast some people are driving past our schools. So I would fully support this, especially knowing how the data will be stored safely and knowing that we can control the costs. I think that this is a good opportunity to keep our kids safe.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, to further some of the concerns around, or to further to discuss on the issue of data privacy, I move to add the words City of Snoqualmie in section 10-13-030B. So we're looking at the top of page 54 on the agenda packet, so that the sentence reads as followed. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, all photographs, micro photographs, or electronic images prepared under this section are for the exclusive use of City of Snoqualmie law enforcement in the discharge of duties under this section and are not open to the public and may not be used in a court in a pending action or proceeding unless the action or proceeding relates to a violation under this section.
Second.
Motion is to add wording City of Snoqualmie before the word police, leaving the rest of the ordinance unchanged. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded. Any discussion of the motion? Councilmember Christensen.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
first, but
Yeah. So
Councilmember Murphy.
this is I want to make sure, I've gotten a lot of questions from residents around data privacy and making sure, I think in this climate, making sure that the data the city collects is safeguarded and secure and as protected as we possibly can be. This motion seeks to ensure that any photographs collected are for the use of our police department, only our police department, not federal police departments, law enforcement, not state, not any other locals. I think what we're seeing nationally as it relates to data sharing elsewhere and perhaps data falling into hands it shouldn't. I think this is a really important one to, I guess, be double and triply sure that our data remains with our city and our law enforcement.
Councilmember Christensen.
I would like to get the city attorneys.
Yeah,
read on this
if
as
I
well.
can just tell you that the administration has no objection to this amendment, and the city attorney has reviewed it. And city attorney, do you have any objection?
I don't see any issues with this. I think the intent was, I don't see a reason why another law enforcement agency would need this in the discharge of enforcement under this section. I think it just clarifies that. So I don't see any issues with it or have concerns.
Okay, see no further discussion on the motion to amend the ordinance. All those in favor of amending the ordinance to add the words
Yes.
City of Snoqualmie, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the motion passes and the amended ordinance. Any further discussion on the amended ordinance? As a reminder, we're not voting on it tonight. This is just discussion. It'll come back for a second reading in 2 weeks. Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, so I have a question. Well, first of all, a comment. Thank you, administration, for getting this presentation out beforehand. That hasn't always happened. So thank you very much for having that so we could study it and go through it. So Chief, on page, let's see here. It's page 28 in the packet. I think it's item 4 for you. I'm looking at the enforcement activity of 2025.
Oh, in the presentation?
No,
Go back to that.
I have a question, Mayor, and a follow-up question. I think it's the 4th page.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. So, okay, so enforcement activity, is this all enforcement activity for 2025?
This was what we did in these areas that we have logged in our system where a citation was issued or where we had a collision reported in those areas.
During the study or?
No, this is
during
just during 2025.
Okay, okay,
This was done by our officers.
okay, okay. Correct, by the city of Snoqualmie.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm just looking at that 238 number. So the infractions on Snoqualmie Parkway, 238. And not to be critical, but just kind of as a data point. So there's 260 working days in a year, correct? So I'm looking at that and I'm just saying, okay, in essence, we wrote less than 1 infraction per working day
Correct.
in enforcing the speed on the parkway.
Correct, but we also have 723 traffic stops where
Okay.
warnings were issued. So if we stop somebody and the officer at their discretion said, hey, you were doing 10 over, we'll just use 10 over. Be cognizant of your speed and slow down and then release them. The other part of that 723, the difference, so the other 2/3 is basically a warning.
Okay.
And the other side of that is this is during 2025 where we had also lost some staff. And we're patrolling 2 cities with what it takes to do 1.
Understood.
So if you're looking at it, you have to take into consideration the number of officers that are floating between both Snoqualmie and North Bend and responding to calls for service in both cities.
Okay. Okay. So just a quick follow-up question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So what would, in essence, so we're looking at the traffic cameras and essentially that's a slice of time that can be patrolled or monitored, right, by the cameras. What happens, for example, in the summer? Still got a lot of traffic out there, a lot of kids hanging out. What would be the plan to enforce the speed limit?
So the officers will still be conducting speed enforcement. We can set the parameters of the cameras on times, the speeds, the days, all of that stuff. There's a lot of options. The law allows everything from just school zones to 24 hours a day. But we're also looking at making sure that the officers are out conducting traffic stops. And by allowing us to not only respond to our calls for service, but instead of focusing on these particular school zones, we can now focus officers on Douglas or on Ridge or on Railroad and other areas where we also have problems where otherwise we're tied up in the school zones during those specific hours. The cameras become a force multiplier for us in essence. And throughout the summer, you know, the officers are still out there doing their day-to-day operations and conducting traffic stops.
Quick follow-up.
Councilmember Washington.
So just to be just very specific, Chief, would we enforce potentially outside of the school zones, potentially in the summer?
So at this time, the ordinance.
Sorry, just, I just want to make sure that you're both talking about the same thing. Are you asking about, because the chief said school zones when he meant school hours.
Okay.
So are you asking a
So I'm
zone question
asking-
or an hours question?
I'm asking school zone and during school hours. So, you know, the 180 days a year and we're in session. I think you had 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the high school, and then for the elementary schools, it's that 2-hour block.
Correct.
On the front end, on the back.
If I
end.
could
So
just help. So we're not bringing a specific proposal to you tonight, so it's sort of hard to answer that, but the intent is to only install these, to ask you, I mean, it'll be your decision, but our intent is to ask you only to install these in school zones.
during those working hours.
That then no, they're physically, once you've installed them, they're there. They're
But-
on a pole, but we would only install them at school zones. That's the only place that we would enforce. That's our intent to bring that to you. And then the enforcement can be anytime that, so again, that would be something we could talk about, but the intent is to focus on school hours. And therefore you're focusing on where the 20 mile per hour speed limit is, during hours when were not the school hours. You could set that, you could still enforce then, you would just obviously set it at, the speed limit would not be 20, it would be whatever the normal speed in that zone is, but we could then set parameters and enforce then as well. But the intent of what we're bringing to you is school hour enforcement
For school zones.
for school zones, for specified school zones that we will present to you and that you will decide on where we put those cameras.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Johnson.
So I want to make sure that I understood how the enforcement actually works. So if it were to be a license plate reader, then it just pops up, here's the license plate, we know who it is, whatever. But if it doesn't have that automatic reading, does that mean that one of our officers would get like a ping saying, hey, there's a potential violation, here's the 12-second video, do with it as you will? And there'd be an officer who actually has to watch the video, go, oh, yeah, that guy's going fast. Or they're kind of slow rolling it. They were trying to slow down, hemming and hawing, and then kind of making a decision. But effectively, would it be an officer that makes that decision? Or is this, again, something that has some sort of an automated element to it? I was
So
a little bit unclear on how that works.
So to answer your question,
Yeah.
this is an example of the camera that is in Issaquah, the
Mhm.
one off to the side. It has the camera, the video recorder, and a radar, no different than what our cars have. That is the detection device. It picks up the speed basically on whatever the parameters, in this instance, 27 miles an hour. It uploads the photos taken of the violation in the video, sends it to the company where it's all encrypted. They verify that everything is meeting the parameters, and then it is sent to an officer for review. We have to sign off on the issuance of a citation. That citation is then mailed by the company to the registered owner of the vehicle.
So if I could just add to that, by law, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but by law in Washington, the infraction can only be issued by an officer. So this company cannot issue infractions. Correct? Chief?
We have to review it.
And the
Oh,
camera
Have
can't
to
do it.
approve it. No, the
Camera
camera cannot
cannot
do
do
it. It's literally clicking a deny or approve. After
And
we
I
review.
believe they have a third option, which is warning.
There is a warning option as well.
So, and that doesn't happen in real time. To your, part of your question was, does the officer get pinged or what? What happens is that then gets stored by the company, and then we assign the officers at the time we want them to go spend their time doing this. They then log into that system and they review all the things that are waiting to be reviewed, and they make their decisions about what the disposition of each of the items is. Did that answer your question?
absolutely.
Okay, Councilmember Washington.
Yeah. And I would defer to the city attorney for this, just for clarity. It's my understanding the two things have to be true to enforce. They have to have the beacon, so it has to be the flashing beacon in the school zone, and it can only be during school hours. That's my understanding of how they're currently enforced in the state.
Sorry, you're talking about for the speeding in the
The
school?
speeding in the school zones.
Okay, I would have to double check on the
Okay.
flashing beacon. I'm not sure if that's actually required for it, but it does have to be posted.
Correct.
So
If I
I can help clarify that. So in order for it to be enforced, we have to do the signage, which is why I say we're going to increase signage. It has, when you go through one, for instance, if you go through Issaquah, it says photo enforcement.
Mhm.
So we have to put those signs up, and you have to have the lighted beacons going. For instance, the Parkway, we would just put on each end of the school zones, the signage, and then the beacons would handle it, and then the cameras near there, because the beacon and the sign for the speed limit is also captured in the image that is sent to us of the violation.
Councilmember Murphy.
So I just want to like zoom out a little bit and offer some data points here as it relates to speed and the impact, right, on traffic. In King County, speeding is the contributing factor in roughly 1/3 of traffic fatalities. And even if you look at instances, speed as it relates to fatal crash risk, we have 23 miles an hour. If a pedestrian is hit at 23 miles an hour, there's a 10% risk of death. 32 miles per hour, 25% risk of death. 42 miles per hour, 50% risk of death. So even reducing speeds by a few miles per hour makes like meaningful reductions in risk and serious crash rates. I want to also offer some data as it relates to a school zone camera program recently implemented by the city of Seattle. And there was some interesting data related to reduction in crashes. There was a 70% reduction in crashes during school arrival and dismissal time. But what I thought was really interesting, 95% of drivers do not reoffend after receiving a citation. So the cameras, they work, they change behavior. And I think there are probably few things that we will do that will not, that there's reams of data that I think show that these are extremely effective. Now, I think it matters how we do it. It matters how we collected the data. It matters how we source the vendor, right? I think we shouldn't fast track anything on that front. But in terms of like the effectiveness of the cameras in slowing speeds, especially around school zones, and I've anecdotally, around Timber Ridge, folks, and trucks too. Some of the trucks that use Snoqualmie Parkway as a pass-through from their job sites to I-90. I mean, we're seeing folks really do some risky stuff. So anyway, I want to just offer that and zoom out and provide some of that data because yes, I think the mechanics of how it works and all the things you all are discussing matter a lot. But to me, as a father of two little kids in and around the schools, I want us to be doing all we can to make sure that, we're having folks slow down.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, there's one other thing that I think would be very important for the council to tackle and perhaps work with the administration on. That's something that I've brought up many times when we talk about Snoqualmie Parkway. It was designed and built as if it were a super speedway. There are very few indicators to drivers, physical things that you're not actually supposed to go, say, 50. It looks like a road where it'd be safe to go 50. Whether it is or not is a different question, but that's what it looks like. The walking path is pretty far set off from the road itself. There are some street trees, but not many. And ones that are actually fairly small, at least along the sides, as a barrier between the path and the road. The curves are very swoopy, so you can take them at a very high speed and feel very safe. The lanes are wide. there's a wide shoulder even between the lanes and the grassy area.
Median.
Yeah, and between the median. So that is all very concerning to me. It always has been because we have these posted speed limits there and we want people to go at safe speeds, but the road doesn't look like that. So there are traffic calming measures that exist that other cities have implemented, Issaquah being one of them, that I think that we should be looking into. There are bulb outs that indicate, hey, this is a place where there are pedestrians that cross frequently. And when you see the bulb out, people slow down. There are bulb outs all around the place where I work over in Bellevue, and it slows traffic down. So anyway, that's just an example. So I think that that's something that we should be looking into as well as clues to drivers that it's actually not a 50 zone. It's not a 60 zone. It's 40 for most of it and for most of the day.
Okay. Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. I think that's partially my fear is that we have the cameras here. Okay, they're doing a great job during the 180 days, so during the school year and the school zones. But then what happens in the summer? And is it that we need more officers? Is that a question? So, obviously last year we went through our challenges managing protecting the two cities, but going forward, what else can we do to help ensure that, our streets are safe for our children?
So I assume we should take that as a homework assignment. You're not asking tonight? Because we weren't prepared to make a presentation beyond this for tonight, but we're happy to bring that back to you.
Yeah. My mind is swirling around cost, honestly, Mr. Mayor, and I'm just thinking, okay, potentially what is the cost for this, right? And what would the cost potentially be to potentially hire another officer or two?
We'll bring in more on that in the not too distant future. Councilmember Watton.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the conversation from the council and from Peter's remarks too. I think that, this is part of our overall plan is trying to find something that affects the speeds to slow people down. Two, that is cost effective. Three is we're only going to limit this to 3 school zones, 6 cameras initially. That's the thought. 4, we definitely have to look at all the options for cameras. And I think we're all in accordance on making sure that that information stays with the city, is not shared by outside agencies. And I think the other one is what else can we do? And within our constrained budget. I think that, and the last one is this, and that is, it is known that when speed cameras are put in place, habits change and the violations will go down. So we may notch it up a little bit on the end of what triggers a violation or a warning. So there are a lot of levers that we can pull, but our thing is how do we affect it as soon as possible? Because as Councilmember Murphy pointed out, speed is a huge concern. And the more people speed, and these are very concerning numbers. I mean, you've got 65 on the Parkway and above, and we know that it's going on. We need to address it. So I applaud the city on bringing this forward. I applaud the residents that have spoken up and said that we need this to be addressed. And it's an ongoing dialogue. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, many of my fears have been alleviated. So I really appreciate the hard work that public safety did on this, and also our staff. The only other thing I want to mention is I was very excited to hear that there's a warning possibility. It doesn't have to just be infraction, no infraction. And I'd really like to learn more about how we could lean into that, because I think that getting a letter in the mail going, whoa, they're watching us, could also be an incentive without necessarily having to get the fine, depending on how severe the infraction was, and all those things that, of course, our police are very good at deciphering. But I definitely like to learn more, and maybe this isn't a public facing discussion, but perhaps what the internal policy could look like for using the warning system, and perhaps talk to the chief sometime and the mayor about that.
Councilmember Christensen.
Piggybacking on what Councilmember Johnson said, a warning in the mail, especially for the parents of a teenager, if it's a teenager doing it, will also likely be effective, not only right around the school zone, but potentially in the rest of the community as well.
Yeah, if I could just comment, when we, assuming you end up passing this and then we come back to you with vendors, one of the things that's going to be part of that is discussing the mechanics of each of the vendors of what happens. So as we told you under Washington state law, an infraction requires an officer to issue that. A warning does not. So there's ways that we can use this system to, along the lines of what you're saying, depending which system we pick. So that'll be part of the presentation we bring you when we bring you vendors and specific systems to consider. We're taking notes, don't worry. We're going to make sure that's in there. Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, and then if they all had to be mailed, I'd imagine there'd be a cost associated with that. So I'd wonder if there are alternatives. I don't want to go too far into the weeds. I realize that's something that would have to do with the individual contract, but it's just sort of a thought about how much mail are we going to be sending out?
All right, any further discussion for tonight? As a reminder, then in 2 weeks, this will come back for a second reading, and then you'll be able to debate and decide whether to pass this. We will bring it back in its amended form based on your action tonight to amend the ordinance. All right, thank you, Chief. Thank you. Any further report from public services? From public safety?
I think we're good tonight. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
It is a public service.
Any report from Community Development Committee?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
All right, under Parks and Public Works Committee, we have a presentation, which is a discussion on the King Street and Snoqualmie Parkway crossing improvements. We have a guest with us tonight. Just to be sure, is our guest presenting with us? Yes, so we have a guest to help explain this project because it's part of a larger project by the Northwest Railway Museum. And so the executive director, Richard Anderson, is here to help explain the larger project. And then our staff member, Hind Ahmed, will talk about what we see coming in Snoqualmie. This is not for action tonight. This is for you to be aware of what's coming down the pike and a chance for you to weigh in to the extent you so choose. So with that, turn it over to our presenters.
Good evening, Mayor and Council Member. This is Hind Ahmed. I'm a project engineer with Public Works, and I'm here today for update on Snoqualmie, King Street, Snoqualmie Parkway crossing improvement. And I have here with me the Director of Railway Museum, Richard Anderson. This project is partnership with the Railroad Museum, and Railroad Museum is the one who, Northwest Railroad Museum is the one who's operating the crossing. Richard will start giving us a background about the project and how we started this process.
Okay, I just click advance. Okay, next. Hi, I'm Richard Anderson. I seem to reside most of the time at 9312 Stone Quarry Road here in Snoqualmie. I've been with the museum now for a few decades. I was actually enjoying your conversation earlier. I was here when we opened the Snoqualmie Parkway, and remember it was actually designed and built as an extension of Highway 18 with the expectation it was going to be a superhighway in the future. So the speed problems you're experiencing are really not a surprise. And they affect us. It's actually what we're talking about here today is rail crossing safety. We have two projects that were submitted to WashDOT for consideration of use of something called Section 130 funding. This is rail crossing safety funding that's funded with gas tax collected by the federal government. And how that relates to us is we own and operate the 6-mile long railroad between Snoqualmie Falls and North Bend. We carry about 65,000 people a year now. And this project is really part of what we call Tracks to the Future campaign, which is expanding and preparing the museum for the future to serve more people and play a greater role in our local community, both for education and for, cultural enrichment and of course, tourism. The Parkway opened in 1998. It was funded by Weyerhaeuser Real Estate, who were principally involved in the design of it as well. They paid for the original installation of the rail crossing, and it's now at end of life. Hard to believe that 1998 was that long ago, but the electronics and the concrete and everything is basically end of life. And we want to be ahead of that, replace those components before they actually cause a failure for us. We have another 220,000, almost 220,000 people a year that we're serving with the museum. And with the tourism that we have in the community, we have a lot of traffic in the community. A couple images up here illustrating one of 3 incidents we've had at the crossing involving large semi-trucks that failed to negotiate the turn from 202 onto the Parkway, executing a right turn from eastbound 202 onto the Parkway. And they ride up into the center island and they knock out the signals in the center of the road. So one of the objectives of this project is to address that by hanging the lights over the road instead of having in the middle of the crossing. In this incident, by the way, was a log truck, and when it hit the railroad crossing signals, it caused all of the logs to fall off the log truck and into the cars sitting at the traffic light there at the intersection. This was in 2020, I think, 2020 or 2021. And what we're planning to do is what we've just done in North Bend. This was completed here actually just last month. We call these cantilever signals. They hang over the road. Nice shiny new gates, and also something called a predictor, which if the train stops in the approach to the crossing, it'll reset the signals. The gates will go back up so the traffic can clear. We're looking at replacing the sidewalks, widening the sidewalk, excuse me, and replacing the crossing surface. New gates and lights, all the new electronics. And over on King Street, we have a crossing that has, well, it's an impaired view at King Street. We have when the traffic comes from the town side of King Street, they can't see up the tracks because the Snoqualmie Depot is there. So their view is blocked. And we have this beautiful park right next door that has no legal, proper, safe entry to the park. And that can be corrected with a new railroad crossing, widening the crossing another approximately 10 feet, and just some flasher lights there to make everybody aware when a train is approaching. And I guess it's a good place to turn over to Hind. Oh, there you are.
Thank you, Richard. I'll just go back one slide to talk about the scope, little in details. So we have improvement on 2 locations on the intersection of King Street and SR 202. This is a smaller improvement. We will widen the sidewalks. So right now we do have the sidewalk stopping between the Christmas tree and the SR 202. So on that area, we will connect it with sidewalks, and we'll also create a way for people to cross the street from the museum into the city park. Right now, there is no crossing at that point. People walk through the tracks, so that's a safety issue. We'll have as part of the sidewalk widening, we'll have a crossing that's crossed between the museum and the city park. We'll also upgrade the concrete crossing for the railroad crossing on the road. So we'll have newer concrete tops on the road at the crossing location. And as also we're working on, that's a separate project, but we're gonna coordinate with this project where we will upgrade the existing water main under the railroad track. We have previously upgraded the King Street water main, but we didn't work under the tracks because it caused issues with settlement in the track. So now, since we're replacing the tracks, we will coordinate that to happen at the same time. This way we can get the water main replaced and we're not impacting the tracks. That's all for King Street. We'll have also upgrade on the signals. It's the same MUTCD signals, just maybe newer, bigger one, depending on the current standards. As for the other location, Snoqualmie Parkway, we will widening the sidewalks as well. And the major issue was for the Snoqualmie Parkway is when the gate for the railroad crossing come down, there is a, like the back of it, it blocks the sidewalks. So when the train is there, and if you were at the point that the gate went down, you're between the train and the track, you will be trapped there. So we will widening the sidewalks and move them behind the gate. So for any reason, when the gate is down, if you're at that location, you still have a safe way to move away from the moving train. We'll also upgrade the train detection system on that location. What we have right now, Richard can talk onto that more than me, but what we have right now is based on the train speed. And if the train made any stop, the detection system wouldn't detect the stop. So we'll upgrade the detection system. It will communicate better now with the gate. So you won't have the gate down unless the train is actually approaching the crossing. Also, we'll upgrade the lights to LED lights. We have a Trias bass mitigation gate, the small gate that you can see in the picture, but we'll upgrade the gate as well to be connected to the updated train detection system. So schedule and budget for the project. So right now we're approaching 90% design. We're anticipating construction between May and August. The cost of the project is anticipated to be between 3 to 3.5 million. There's some, I know that's a big range, but there is some changes on laws and tariffs, manufacturing laws, and a lot of factors affecting the cost of the project. As of today, we have Federal Highway Administration grant for 2 million, and this grant require no local match. So the grant will cover everything if we obligated the fund by September 2026. So the process is usually we have our design before starting the construction. We reach out to WashDOT, get the construction fund obligated. When they obligate that fund, if we obligated everything before September of 2026, the grant will cover all the construction costs. Apparently, we will ask for extra budget on the grant because what we have right now is less than what we anticipate the project will cost. But we had a conversation with WashDOT, and this seemed to be happening on other places as well, and they're aware of the issue. So there is a high chance for them approving the extra budget. So what should we expect during the construction? I think this is the major thing here. We should expect full closure of the road on both roads, King Street and Snoqualmie Parkway. So for King Street, I think this will be lower impact to the public. We can detour people through either Fur or King Street, River Street. The closure is expected to be 7 to 14 days. That's a long closure because we have the water main replacement as part of it. So when we have the tracks out, the construction for the track improvement will stop. We will start the work for the water main replacement. After the water main replacement, they will come back and finish up the tracks. So that's why this duration could be longer, but the detour route will be short as well. For Snoqualmie Parkway, I think that's the biggest impact. We will have 3 days of closure. So we're looking at Thursday at 7 p.m. up to Monday 5 a.m. for a full closure. We will still have a single lane closure where we have a single lane in each direction closed during the construction. We will have on our contract document for the contractor to avoid the closure to be in any state holidays or long weekend. So I want to talk also, speak into the reasoning why we need the full closure. The full closure is mainly driven by the crossing work, the railroad track crossing. To properly align those crossing, the road have to be fully closed. Richard will come here also and talk to you about that. I'll just go through very quick, and he can talk further on the why the crossings need to happen on a full closure. So that's driven by the tracks. We looked at alternatives where we reduce the number of days of closure. Instead of 3 days, we close the road for 1 day. It's very expensive to do that. We're looking at least 30K per day for UBO on that intersection. And it will also make the construction period longer, so it will have a bigger impact on the public as far as construction, as traffic impact. So based on those two options, the 3-day closure is a more visible option on this. Richard?
Sure. This is what we did in North Bend as well, on North Bend Way, the big 4-lane crossing there that used to be I-90, and also on Bendigo in downtown North Bend, the state highway, and even Northwest 8th that services Nintendo in North Bend. We've got a piece of rail that's welded. It's however long it is, 350 feet long, and it has to go across the whole crossing. We can't have a joint anywhere in the crossing. So that has to be, at a minimum, installed at once, and the road has to be closed for that to do that effectively. I know you're probably wondering, what about public safety? Well, we figure that it's very safe and effective to route public safety vehicles through the Christmas tree lot there, the pole yard, because there's already a private industrial crossing there. They'd have to go a little bit slower than light speed through there, but certainly there is great access in there. And I know we would want to look very carefully at ensuring we've provided for trucks to turn around big commercial vehicles, and of course a very robust public information campaign to make sure people were aware of this. But
yeah, so we also have here the plan for the. So this area is for the emergency vehicle. We will have the road closed at Better Way. So from Better Way, there is no access either for emergency vehicle or for the city vehicles. They go through there. You can go through the Gateway Park, go through the tracks and get into SR 202. For the public, we will have to detour everyone through I-90, North Bend Way, and then go through Meadowbrook Way back to the downtown. So it will be longer for the public, but we will have emergency vehicle access through the Gateway Park.
And assuming it's implemented as designed, this is a 30-year solution too. So just like we've got basically almost 30 years out of what's there now.
Councilmember Johnson.
You did mention the big truck turnaround. Would big trucks also be expected to turn around a Better Way, or can they get down to the aforementioned tree lot?
So the plan is having the trucks turn around before they get into the Better Way. So we will have in the contract a location for them. So what we did last time on when we had the flooding event, they had everyone turn around on Fairway. And so this is what we're looking at right now, but we don't want any of the public going into the construction zone, because that will be construction zone and won't be safe for the public trucks to be there.
And just to make sure that your question was fully answered, the public will not be able to go through the tree lot.
Right.
That will only be for city vehicles, emergency vehicles.
Did it follow public?
Follow-up, go ahead.
Yeah. Because during the flooding event, that is what is in my mind was I happen to live very close to what was for at least a while the turnaround spot, and it didn't work well at Jacobia and Snoqualmie Parkway. So just finding a good spot that does have the space will be important.
Yeah, and another thing also to mention about the traffic control plan, we will have messaging board on I-90 on SR 202. So that message will show that the parkway is closed and no truck traffic. So any traffic, any trucks that actually not entering the city or they don't have a destination in the city, they will be aware of the closure before then. And for the trucks that servicing anything within the city, we're looking at Fairway for them to make a turn. So it's not like you're making a U-turn on Fairway, but they will turn left in Fairway, go through Ridge Street, and come back through Center to the Parkway, looping back. So the plan is to minimize the number of the trucks that get there through the messaging board. And then when we have trucks maybe servicing the business area or anything on that uphill, we have everyone turning around back in Fairway.
Councilmember Watt.
I have a couple of questions, if I may. I'm kind of curious on the first one, and there's about $1 million gap between the 3 to 3.5 million and the grant the federal highway grant for 2 million. How is that being closed?
There was a North Bend as well too, and we simply asked for more money. There's a fund that's set aside just for this type of project. It has to be approved at the senior level at WashDOT, but they have a procedure for it, which we'll go through, but we have to have 100% design before we can request the additional funding.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
To add to that, we actually had a meeting today with WashDOT, part of the project, and they're aware of the gap and they have approved it before. They worked with us through the process, how to get it, but they didn't seem to have any concerns with approval of any additional funds.
Fabulous. The second question, and it's again WashDOT for them as well, and that's our visitors and our residents coming up 90 turning off of 25, exit 25. There's going to be signage at some point on 18, I presume, as well as 90 from WashDOT advising travelers to use exit 27 rather than 25 on the weekend of the construction to get those folks off of the congestion that could potentially happen.
So as far as the signs, everything that's alerted by our project, we should be addressing those. So for this project, since we're closing the road by 202 and 202 is also a WashDOT road, we start a permit with WashDOT to use their road. We put signs in their road. So we will put the sign ourselves. The contractor will have a location for the signs to be put there on I-90, on SR 18. It will be put by our contractor there. We will have the permit from WashDOT in hand before then. So we will control also the message that we will put there on those messaging boards.
Okay, excellent. One last final observation. This is kind of goes back to my angst with WashDOT. If you're coming up 25 up to exit 25 on 90 out of Issaquah, the first signage isn't really clear a mile before the exit of 25, and it should be. But anyway, that's a separate issue. But I think the bigger issue is making sure that the signage prior to 25, so people aren't making those last minute decisions right at exit 25, which is a problem we have today. If we can get that message to WashDOT to make sure that it's a mile before exit 25, whatever the temporary sign, at least a mile before to take exit 27 would be most helpful.
Yeah, sure. We can work on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Cotton.
Thank you. Some of the other finer points that we did talk about at the Parks and Public Works Committee meeting is that obviously this is going to go on during the summer months. And so the concern is we have some big events in town. So we wanted to make sure that we were coordinating to try and not impact things like Boeing Classic or Snoqualmie Days and such, and that we were also seeking input from the small businesses downtown that, for being affected. The good news is that during the summer, school bus routes shouldn't be affected. So that is the good news. And I also just wanted to say I appreciate Richard Anderson coming back a second time to present to us. And Hind, I'm so glad to see you back, and thank you again for your presentation.
Any further discussion? All right, thank you, presenters. Any further report from Parks and Public Works Committee?
Not at this time, Mayor.
All right, Finance, any report from Finance and Administration?
No report.
All right, brings us to the mayor's report. Few things to update you on. Biggest is that we've now planned a flood event town hall. Been significant preparation work for this over the last couple of weeks, getting presenters ready. The idea is that staff will share what happened. This is not going to be presented by elected folks. It's going to be presented by staff. It's a good chance for them to connect with our residents, hear what happened from their perspective, what opportunities for improvement that we've identified. And then we'll ask residents for their input on what they saw and areas for improvement that they would identify for us. So a good chance to have a back and forth with our community and really make sure that we've heard sort of everything that we can from our community about how to do this better in the future, and both what worked well, let's make sure we keep doing that, and then what are our areas for improvement going forward. So that will be March 4th from 7 to 8 p.m. at Mount Si High School. And we'll be doing a lot of public outreach between now and then to make sure residents are aware and invite them to come join us. The Snoqualmie Tribe's Raging River Recovery Center ribbon cutting was Friday at their new facility in the building just across the street from City Hall. The majority of their services are provided to non-tribal members, and a lot of folks are not aware of that. So it's a great addition to our community. As I think you all know, we are now recruiting for 4 positions right now, an associate planner. We've had 56 applicants for that position. Interviews are starting next week. Communications coordinator, we've had 49 applicants. Interviews are taking place this week. We have a city clerk and slash executive assistant. We've had 55 applications for that position, although fewer than 10 of them reported direct clerk experience. But we will look at, we'll have 55 applicants to take a look at. And then police chief, applications for that closed March 3rd. We've had 8 applicants to date, but we've got until March 3rd for folks to apply. So a lot going on, and just so that you're all aware, the interview process behind this involves a lot of city folks. So there's a lot of effort going into filling these positions, and it's a big lift to try and fill 4 at once, but we are. Want to let you know that Snoqualmie won the Well City Award for 2025 from the Association of Washington Cities for the 3rd consecutive year. And that results in a 2% reduction in annual insurance premiums. So that has a very tangible result for us. Then internally in administration, we've been doing a lot of work on solutions for staffing and budgeting for community development department and the legal department. As I think you're all aware, since I think you began discussing this late last year, the needs in those departments. So we're really taking a hard look at what do we really need? What do we have budget for? What can we come back and talk to you about how we propose to sort of address the needs in those departments? We're spending a lot of work on it because we're really trying to think of what's the most efficient, most effective way to address those. So a lot of work happening there. Both those departments understaffed. So expect information at committee meetings in the not too distant future on both of those as we try to work through that. And then the other thing we're doing a lot of work on is our process for upcoming council committee meetings. The process by which we sort of plan out what presentations and what agenda bills we're going to bring to you. We're looking at a process that looks much farther out than just the next 2 weeks. How do we really tee up everything so that we can share that with you and really together have an idea of what's coming this year? Now, we don't know everything that will come this year, but we want to have a better process of sort of the timing and the sort of cadence and what are we bringing when, and let you have some input on that timing as well to the extent you'd like to see it be different from what we propose. So it's a lot of work for us to now start looking out a lot farther, sort of change our process for what will the dates be. By the way, what are our internal processes? Because think every agenda bill has to go through reviews by our accounting department, by legal. So there's a whole process that goes behind those and sort of changing the process to support all that. So it's a lot of effort going into that. Please continue to give us a little bit of grace as we really try and get a better system going forward. So those are the main items I had for mayor's report. Let's see, the next item is commission and committee liaison reports. Are there any commission or committee liaison reports? Councilmember Watton.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you and the staff that showed up for the second joint Economic Development Commission meeting with City of North Bend last Wednesday. Besides Mayor Mayhew, Director Davis was there helping to facilitate. Interim Clerk Thrall was there. Thank you very much. And Ms. Wiebe was there as well. And it was a great discussion. I was only able to stay for the first few minutes to see who was in the room and hear the initial start to that, but watch for some initiatives coming through the EDC to both councils, things that we can work on together. And I applaud the effort of everyone who was involved. So that's my report.
Councilmember Cotton.
Yes, I had a first meeting with the Emergency Management Advisory Committee. Interestingly enough, it was on the day of the Seahawks parade. So we were actually down in the activated EOC down at the sheriff's office in Renton. So got to see all the big screens and watch the parade while we were doing the meeting. And they are concentrated, and it's an integration of all agencies from the governor's office, state on down to the individual cities and such, that everything is concentrating on FIFA for the next 4 months. And so that's all we've been doing is running scenarios, following up on communication practices and what's going to be the kind of the standard of who takes charge in what situation. And so I will reiterate, I know Kara was always the one asking people that wanted to participate, that these meetings are open to the public. So if there's anybody else that wants to do Zoom meetings, Chief Bailey will be attending so that he can make sure our fire department's on point for this as well. So, but if anybody else is interested, we can certainly get you some calendar invites to that as well. It's a lot of fun.
Councilmember Johnson.
Mayor, I hope you'll allow me to mention this, even though it's not technically committee liaison report. It's tangentially related because it's a regional organization.
It's the council's agenda. I don't see anyone objecting.
All right. So this is for ST3. There's going to be a meeting. I don't think you mentioned this in your mayor's report, did you?
I did not.
Okay, good. Yeah, so there's going to be a meeting in Issaquah at the council chambers tomorrow from 5:30 to 6:30. That's going to be a town hall with Sound Transit, since they are considering cutting the expansion of light rail to Issaquah, despite all the taxpayer funding that's gone into that and various concerns related to that. So if you are interested in that issue, that has been noticed for potential quorum of our council members. So of course, we wouldn't be taking any action there. It could be that a quorum of us could be there.
And if I could just add to those comments, the largest source of revenue for Sound Transit is sales tax. which our residents pay a significant amount of that sales tax, even though that's not collected here in Snoqualmie, when our residents purchase things inside the ST taxing zone, which includes Issaquah, they're paying those taxes, and many of them would benefit from this ST3. It's the third Sound Transit rail line going in, and they've also been contributing towards those costs. So I see it as not only just sort of a regional transit issue, which it is, but it's also actually a taxpayer issue, I think, for our residents, even though we're not in the direct taxing zone. Any further reports? Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, so and you may have gotten an email on this, but Sound Cities Association is hosting a networking dinner on the 4th of March at 5:30 at Mercer Island Community Center. If you haven't gotten the email, make sure that it's disseminated through the clerk or administration.
Okay, any other reports? All right, there being no further business on the council agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. The motion passes. The time is now 8:30, and we are adjourned.